What's up, guys? It's your boys Wokey, back with some more of the Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger's videos. This one, I'm not quite sure how do I want to say this. A lot of you guys have been asking me to watch this video, and it states Chris Watts comparing what Kim said to press conference. DA explains why no drug test and Shanann's BA content. Now, I want to watch this because a lot of the time lately it's been blame Shanann, blame Shanann, blame Shanann, blame Shanann, because people think that she was the one that murdered the girls. On what grounds do you think that she would have had any partake in taking her own daughter's life? This woman adored her children. This woman fought for her children. And Chris took all that away. Obviously, we've known that from all the videos that myself and hundreds of YouTubers have put out there. But I want to watch this because you guys have asked me to do so. And I'm going to give what my viewers want. So, before we go any further, if you guys could do me a solid favor before we go into this video, is subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting that white bar icon down the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it, so when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that I've posted that video, and then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, thank you guys so very much for the love and support that you guys show on my channel. Hopefully one day we will hit that 100K goal. But until that time, let's watch this video. We're going to watch Zav Girl's video. Make sure you guys go over to her channel, give her some love, subscribe, comment, like, share. You know the deal. And with that being said, let's get into the video.
Thank you for the...
Something happened. Let's try that again.
Thank you for the birds so thank you for the sweet. Thank you for the food we eat. Thank you for the birds that sing.
Those girls are in heaven. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you, God, for everything. Amen.
Jack, Knuckles.
I don't know, fairies know how I come up here. Have a holly jolly Christmas. It's the best time of the year. I don't know, fairies know how I come up here.
Ho, ho, the mistletoe
on my own can see somebody that's for you.
Kiss her.
Wants for me. Have a holly jolly Christmas.
The best time of the year.
No.
Yeah, she looks like a terrible mother. These people. Stupidity runs very, very deep, unfortunately. And for them to sit there and blame a deceased woman.
Guys, welcome to my
for
channel.
murders.
So this video, I'm gonna play you some parts of the news conference that the Weld County prosecutors and law enforcement have right after Chris Watts' sentencing. So I uploaded this probably like over a year ago, and you know, I've watched it a while ago when it first came out. I decided to watch it again, and I just had new thoughts and new comments, especially kind of relating to some of the stuff Kim was saying and also some questions you guys had. So what I was going to do is play some of those parts and kind of just give you some of my thoughts and my comments. There's a few questions he answers that you guys were asking me about. For instance, did Chris Watts have a drug test? You could see in the discovery that he didn't, but you get to hear.
Chris didn't have a drug test? I think they should have drug tested him.
The DA answer that question, and there's just some other things that I wanted to point out. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and play it. I'm not going to play the entire thing, but I'm going to play most of it. And I said I'm going to stop it and give you some of my thoughts. So let's get into this.
Hope you guys want to hear mine.
We need some more microphones.
Don't get me started with this press conference. Totally whack, I think. Yeah, we'll watch it again for those that probably have not seen it. But I haven't seen it in a while, so I definitely want to watch it again.
Dave. Carl, do you want to come on up? Ian, good. All right, y'all ready? Good afternoon, everyone. I want to introduce the folks that are up here with me, and then we'll get into the press conference. To my right is Weld County Coroner Carl Blesch. To my immediate right, Detective Dave Baumover from the Frederick Police Department, Chief Deputy District Attorney Steve Wren, Deputy District Attorney Pat Roach, and from the Frederick Police Department, Sergeant Ian Albert. Sergeant Albert has been the PIO from the Frederick Police Department. This afternoon, with the cooperation of the Weld County Coroner, the autopsy reports will be made available and become a public document. There are a few things that I want to talk about that you will see that are contained within those autopsy reports. I'm going to be very general at this point. I hope you understand, out of respect for the Rusick family who is still present. Part of the reason that we kept these sealed were for the following reasons. You will see
Bella and Celeste's, I do believe, are like the whole autopsy. They have been like sealed for like 50 years or something like that. They should probably be sealed for eternity because we don't really need to know any more than what we know. So,
see in the autopsy report of Shanann Watts that forensic toxicology testing indicated that in spleen blood there was a blood alcohol level of 0.128. I want to be abundantly and very, very clear about this. This does not mean that she consumed alcohol, nor that she was intoxicated. We have consulted with the Weld County Coroner's Office. We have conducted with the forensic experts at the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. To a person, they have all indicated to us that that blood alcohol level is very, very consistent with normal human decomposition based upon the location and the manner that Shanann and Nico's bodies were buried.
Which again, very hot. Yeah, she was only buried in the ground, but it's not like she was 6 feet down. She was maybe 2 feet down. It was a shallow grave, so the elements had gotten to her, unfortunately. And people just don't understand that. There are still people that are still stating that she had alcohol in her system. I don't know what their vendetta is, what they're trying to gain from this, but a woman was murdered because of a man's volition to get booty. And they keep trying to destroy Shanann's legacy.
Secondly, you will see in the autopsy reports of Bella and Celeste a number of different substances, I think is probably the way, Mr. Blesch, that I want to address those.
Oil.
We have had those examined by both expert chemists as well as the coroner's office because we wanted to make sure that all of those substances could be attributed to the crude oil and the water that their bodies were found in and nothing more. The forensic experts confirmed for us that all of the substances found in those toxicology reports are consistent with being submerged in unrefined crude oil. Mr. Blesch, any other comments you want to make about that at this point?
Covered it well, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's so much literature.
So the guy he just mentioned was the coroner. I couldn't imagine what that man had to go through.
On the whole blood alcohol level and decomposition and so much science to back this up. I'm going to read you an example, an explanation from a site, but there's so much out there that you could read about it if you guys would like to check it out yourself. And they all pretty much agree and come to the same conclusion. There's a lot to read about it because it is a common thing now that they are finding. So let me just read you this pretty easy to follow article. I picked this one because it's very comprehensive. It's just a good summary and pretty easy to understand. explanation. So, I'm gonna apologize already if I don't pronounce everything correct. There's some words that I probably will end up messing up, but I'll try my best. Okay, so it says blood alcohol scores after death can be false positive up to 0.20. In handling wrongful death and life insurance claims for clients, I learned years ago that blood alcohol tests after a person dies may not be reliable. Due to postmortem fermentation, when a body is not kept cool after death, there can be a false positive. Blood alcohol reports up to 0.20 grams percent to 2.5 times the legal limit of 0.08 for drivers
Because of decomp.
and boaters in Georgia. Years ago, I was hired by the widow of a retired Army officer who drowned on a fishing trip. A life insurance policy excluded coverage if the insured was intoxicated at the time of death.
Gosh.
An autopsy by the state medical examiner reported blood alcohol of 0.20 grams percent. But both the widow and her late husband's fishing partner swore he had nothing to drink. At first, we thought the county coroner, on whose property the drowning occurred, might have messed with blood samples. When I contacted an independent pathologist, I learned that fermentation could have produced the blood alcohol score. The body had been retrieved from a lake in South Georgia on a hot August day, laid out in the sun for a while, and then was transported by hearse in uncertain temperature conditions on an hours-long drive to the state medical examiner's office in Atlanta. That was enough for fermentation to occur. With that knowledge, we won. Why is that? So, sound familiar? Shanann's body laid out in the sun for 3 days. 3
Not out in the
hot
sun,
August
but-
summer days. And in this case that I'm reading about, they're talking about maybe a few hours.
We should put Chris out in the sun for 3 days. See how he feels.
That laid out, and on the trip having uncertain temperature,
In bad conditions.
Shanann had 3 days of heating up, cooling down at night, heating up, cooling down at night. As discussed in a recent article by forensic scientist Jim Wigmore, over half of a postmortem blood is not sterile and contains bacteria, yeast, or fungi. In addition, postmortem blood sugar glucose concentration can be 7 to 10 times greater than
Holy
blood before
cow.
death. Fermentation is the formation of alcohol from sugar. Yeasts can convert 100 milligrams of glucose into approximately 40 to 50 milligrams of alcohol. Bacteria and fungi generally can convert 100 milligrams of sugar into 10 to 20 milligrams of alcohol. During fermentation, other volatile compounds such as acetaldehyde and N-propanol are produced and may assist in the determination of elevated blood alcohol scores due to fermentation or putrefaction. It has been well established for many years that blood alcohol levels at autopsy are valid up to 48 hours after death when solid protocols are observed in the collection and storage of samples. Alcohol levels in samples of blood taken from the intact heart are as significant as levels of blood from the femoral veins.
So not being outside in the heat, like she said, from going from hot to cold to hot to cold. So that's what contributed into those levels that we see. I don't know why people are like, oh, she's been drinking.
False blood alcohol levels greater than 0.200% can be generated in autopsy blood samples which are not correctly stored. High blood alcohol levels may develop during putrefaction, and levels up to 0.200% do not necessarily indicate that alcohol was imbibed
consumed
before death. And imbibed means to consume by drinking. So basically, it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody was drinking alcohol.
All the friends that she was with, the time that she was in Arizona, stated that she had nothing to drink. I think she had tea. One of them said she had tea, and then she had water. But I still can't believe that there are people that are like, what we should be looking at is Chris Watts and mostly centralizing on Nichol Kessinger. They're looking at Shanann. or they're looking at Nicole Atkinson. Like, what are you doing? Like, I know what it is, and it's like the news broadcasters. Their videos will not strive unless they have bad, negative news. Nobody wants to watch somebody making a giant cookie, but somebody that's racing on the highway slams into a family vehicle, murdering and killing them all. That's what's going to make headline news. So when they sit there and say that Shanann was the murderer, or she was drinking and she was a bad mom, that's going to get people's angry views to watch it. And that's what's disgusting, is what they're trying to do, is they're trying to get more views by bashing Shanann, when you should get more views by trying to find the answers. Not even that. Don't even worry about the views. Worry about trying to find the answer and the justice of that.
To have 0.200% blood alcohol level after death. And remember, Shanann's was 0.18. Significant false high blood alcohol levels do not develop during incineration in absence of putrefaction. We have to be alert to the scientific knowledge in handling cases where any person after death is accused of having been drunk at the time of death. I can't believe we are still debating this.
6
When
years
the
later,
DA says it, there's
6 years later, we're still debating, because there are YouTube channels that have literally bashed Shanann from sunup to sundown, and it's disgusting.
all kinds of literature to back this up, and they even went as far as to ask the people that were with her the night before if she
was
drank
drinking.
anything. So not only does science show that it's a very common, especially that she was out in August. August is the hottest month of the year in Colorado. 3 days out in the sun with no shade. No matter where the sun was in the sky, it would be beaten down for 3 days straight. It's just basically a desert area with no trees, no buildings, nothing that could possibly provide shade to her body. So that means the sun was constantly beaten down on that spot, heating it up 3 days in a row, no shade. Which heat and sun is also something that would increase the fermentation, which therefore increases the blood alcohol level, because it creates the bacteria, the yeast, the fungi, which converts sugar into alcohol. So I don't know why we are even having this debate. This is
I don't know
ridiculous.
either. It
To
is.
even, first of all, the whole point is to blame this all on Shanann. So not only she's getting blamed for killing her kids, but also she's now getting accused of being drunk while she's pregnant. So that, come on. I mean, are we just attacking a victim here?
Yeah.
So
They are.
you're portraying her as being drunk and upset and crazy and just
And they'll defend Nichol Kessinger. Oh, she's the victim. The victim of getting caught looking up butt stuff.
not thinking right and killing her kids. Are you serious?
Yeah, no
I
kidding.
think we could all agree that she was not drunk that night.
She wasn't
Her
drinking
friend
at
says
all.
she didn't have anything to drink. It's science shows that it's very common, and this would be pretty common in her situation to have a blood alcohol level at 0.18, considering that she was out in the August sun in Colorado with no shade, decomposing. And what the heck does that have to do with
Hot
Chris
sand is
murdering
hot.
his family? And I just chose this article because it's pretty interesting, because this is something, like on a legal standpoint for a life insurance thing. For a lawyer, they wanted to prove that a person isn't or is drinking, which is very
Oh, speaking of life insurance, Chris Watts' family got some of the insurance money. Some of it. Wow.
very important when it comes to like drinking and driving and stuff like that. So they have to take this under consideration, the science here that they're finding out. I just thought it was interesting to read an article by a law firm, but you could find many other articles. You just look it up. I mean, blood alcohol level and decomposition and all that stuff. You could find a bunch of stuff to support the fact that it was a natural process. It wasn't her drinking alcohol when she was still alive. Okay, let me get back to the news conference.
Other than that, I'm happy to take questions. Obviously, from our perspective, justice was more than served.
No, it's not.
I'll certainly call upon Mr. Blesh. Also, what I can tell you is that because of a whole host of reasons, not the least of which is we're not operating in the CSI TV world, oftentimes we can't determine exactly when or a time frame for cause or time of death. Particularly, I think that was complicated by where all of the different bodies were found and the amount of time that passed before their remains were recovered.
I agree.
So how much time?
Well, we know that they were deposited in the locations where they were found in the early morning hours of August 13th. They were recovered on August 16th. That's the best I can tell you from a timing.
The girlfriend you referenced in court.
It's pretty sad that 100 YouTubers can figure this out, but yet law enforcement can't.
Can you give us a better idea of her role in the investigation, how forthcoming she?
I love this part so much because of how, like, weird it's brought up. The girlfriend you referenced in court, can you give us the better idea on the role? Like, it just disgusts me how they're like, yeah, she might have been involved, but we're not going to look at it.
She wasn't how she hoped.
She originally came forward and spoke to investigators on her own volition. Prior to the time, unfortunately, that she came in and spoke with investigators, she had deleted all of the information off of her phone that had any connection between her and Chris Watts. That hampered the investigation.
Let's look at hampering, shall we? So I looked into Colorado criminal law. Colorado criminal law, the statutes right there, when you tamper with evidence, can be a whole bunch of different, depending on the level of crime, as forth or so forth. There are times when an individual under investigation by law enforcement or already accused of having committed a crime in Colorado, criminal justice systems make the error of either altering or tampering with a piece of evidence in a pending case or ongoing investigation. Or if on probation, for example, submits to the court a document of other proof of the completion of some aspects of the probation that has been altered, usually in the form of a document or certificate. Oh my goodness. But when you go down the statute, the 8-8-610, tampering with physical evidence. A person commits tampering with physical evidence if believing that in an official proceeding. A, destroys, manipulates, conceals, removes, or alters physical evidence, aka emails, pictures, and text messages. Physical evidence with the intent to impair is verity or availability in the pending of prospective official proceedings, or knowingly makes present or offers any false or altered physical evidence with intent that it be introduced in the pending or prospective official proceeding. Physical evidence as used in this section includes any article, object, document, record, or other thing of physical substance. Just to let you know, it's a felony, class 6. Class 6 is, keep going down here. So what is the area of law all about? Colorado tampering with evidence, documents, emails, motor vehicles, photographs, hard drives, thumbnails, DNA, or any other piece of evidence taken from a crime scene. Oh, down here, keep going. Examples of tampering with physical evidence as an investigation or official proceedings, such as a trial or hearing at or any stage of investigation proceedings, include deleting emails, destroying subpoenaed documents, falsifying business or court records, somehow altering a videotape, concealing or destroying illegal blank, altering, moving, planting, or destroying evidence, repairing or destroying a vehicle, preparing forged or otherwise false, fraudulent documents to deliberately mislead a public official. kind of did all that. Looking into it even more, again, she, like, just in this hampering of evidence, she's looking at 5 to 10 years. Why didn't she get that? Huh? Exactly.
That hampered our ability to get that electronic digital connection between the two. She was interviewed on multiple occasions. I believe that for the most part she was forthcoming in the course of those investigations. We don't have any reason to believe that she had any prior knowledge or involvement in the death of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico.
Look.
I think that's the best way I can answer that. Yes, sir.
You're leaving the door open for Chris Watts to make a statement in the future and hopefully answer questions. What information is it that you're specifically looking for?
Nichol Kessinger, or actually what happened in these murders. Again, I don't think we're going to get the whole 100% of what happened in these murders, but at least we can hopefully try to receive all of it, if not a good majority of that information.
How and why? And I don't think he'll ever answer those questions. Like I said in the courtroom this morning, and I think that the Rusick...
Why is NK, the woman that you just said that you're not going to look at, how he murdered them? Like,
family said it very, very well as well. I don't think he will ever tell us. I don't think he will give an honest assessment of why he did what he did, how he did what he did. I
sorry, guys.
Intentionally called upon him to see if he would answer those questions in the courtroom this morning.
How about you call upon Nichol Kessinger? I've said it how many times? For them to question Nichol Kessinger, I'll pay for it. I'll donate money to getting her investigated, because it literally comes down to money, is the most part, and them being proved wrong. Nobody wants to be proved wrong.
Both his mother and through their attorney, his father, said that they hope that he will be honest and come clean someday and give us an account of what happened, because I think, like I said this morning, those are the questions that will always haunt anyone who was involved in the investigation, and I don't think that there is ever going to be a satisfactory answer for anyone, not the least of which is the Rusick family.
So right there you see the DA isn't pretending that he knows how and where and why Chris killed everyone, but he assumed, like we all assumed, that it was at the house originally. It's not the most likely that he would have taken his kids to work alive and then killed them. I'm not saying that's not what happened, because I do believe that is what happened, but watching that morning video, they didn't see the shadow. They just assumed that they were already dead.
That's the problem.
But he's
They
not
assumed.
pretending like he knows how and why, as far as some of the specifics. And also the Watts saying that they told her they had all this evidence. If you listen during this news conference, they admit that they told them that what they knew. They had a theory. They didn't know exactly the details because Chris hadn't told them exactly.
Well, if he wasn't so up to trying to get it finished before his election,
How it happened, he's the only one that knows. They just told him the evidence that they had and how they thought it happened. So you can't accuse the DA and law enforcement of lying to the Watts.
I'm not accusing them of lying. I'm accusing them of not looking at Nichol.
Because having a theory is not lying. It's just telling them what you think happened. And telling them the evidence that they have, or that they have so much evidence, or this much, oh, we have a lot of evidence that points to Chris. However they said it, but that would be the truth. They're announcing to the public that this is the day after sentencing. The Watts could watch this news conference. They're saying right there that they don't know how or why it happened right there. So that would make sense that they're saying it in public where Watts could see it. So I don't believe that they lied to him in that meeting. And then they even say what they told him as far as generally what they told him in this news conference. So I don't think they would stand up there and lie knowing the Watts could watch that. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. You'll see later, too, that he says Chris never made a statement, so I know we were contemplating, well, we don't know what Chris said after that first confession. Well, they do say that he never makes a statement on how it happened until basically the second confession at Dodge, but that still doesn't mean that Shanann killed him. I know Kim's making the argument, well, that was wrong because they came out and said he admitted to killing everybody. If that's true, then yeah, that's kind of messed up, but people, they make mistakes. You know, law enforcement makes mistakes.
You know, what's funny is I actually watched this again yesterday. If you guys haven't watched that video, I suggest you go take a look at it. But Chris confessed to the murders of Shanann. He didn't confess to the murders of the girls. So why did Nichol Kessinger say, why did he murder his girls? Because the rumor was, like Chris said, is Shanann did it. So it's just things that you got to really listen to and like hear how they interpret or how they said the words, and then interpreting that. Nichol knew before anybody pretty much knew about Chris murdering his girls, because the thing was Chris was saying it was Shanann. So, and if she knew, because she was there.
Mistake sometimes, but I'm not 100% sure that that's what had happened, though, right after Chris confessed the first time. I don't know if law enforcement told the media that he confessed to killing his whole family. I'm not even sure if media said that right away. I don't know. I don't know which media said it, which news stations said that he killed his whole family and he admitted to killing his whole family, and which didn't.
He didn't.
And even if a couple of them did, how do we?
He admitted to Shanann, and then he said Shanann murdered his girls. That was what was going on for a while until he confessed, and then he finally said, I was the one that did all of it. But again, is that factual? We don't know, because they're not investigating Nichol.
We know that they got that information from Tammy or any of the law enforcement. I remember actually during some of these interrogations, interviews, that they said that they try to avoid the media. They hold them off. They don't talk to them for the most part. They do their best to try to avoid the media, especially right at the beginning before they let the families know and before they're really aware of all the details. And, you know, they want to give the chance to let the families know first, so they have no control over what the media does. We've heard them say that in some of these interviews. So I don't believe that they're the ones behind telling people that Chris admitted to killing his whole family. I mean, like that night or right after that first confession and before his second confession. Kim kept saying that the media came out that night and that next day and said he confessed to killing his whole family. If the media even said that, I'm sure some of the reporters did, because you know how news reporters are. They probably heard some talk about Chris being arrested and him confessing and showing them where the bodies were. And so they just assumed that he confessed to killing them all. I mean, can you see how a reporter would take that information?
But Nichol said that she said that stuff about the girls before it went to the news.
Just those facts, and twist it into saying he confessed to killing his whole family, thinking that's possibly what had happened. They'll lie, they'll exaggerate, yeah, but law enforcement's not to blame. But I'm not saying that they didn't screw up a lot on this case. Some of the stuff they did and how they quit the investigation as soon as he took the plea deal and all that stuff. There was a lot of mistakes. We all admit that. That's why we're still looking through all this stuff, because we're trying to figure it all out on our own. And we're having trouble because of all the mistakes, but that still doesn't lead us to the conclusion that Shanann did it. No way.
There's no way.
Several times before, this was a deliberate act. Why do you believe it's a deliberate act? Do you believe he planned this before the night of to
Yes.
kill his family?
I don't have any information about any pre-planning or anything like that. Obviously, something like this in my mind doesn't just happen on the spur of the moment. But what I alluded to this morning, as it related specifically to Shanann, was the amount of time it takes for one human being to strangle another. And perhaps Mr. Blesh wants to comment on the timing as well. That demonstrates an incredible intent to cause someone's death. He did that 3 times. So to say that this was
Strangle,
anything
smother,
other than a deliberate, intentional killing is inaccurate, to say the least. Yes, sir.
You described Mrs. Watts as, it took a long time for her to die. Was there any defensive wounds on Mr. Watts? And can you have any evidence that she was asleep? Or?
He had one small mark on his neck that was observed the night he was originally interviewed. We don't know if that's related or not.
Did they swab it? Did they test it? Did they, like, we don't know this stuff.
But other than that, no. We had him photographed from head to toe that night, and nothing was observed that would be consistent with injuries to him as a result of a struggle.
Yeah, go ahead.
The original plea deal isn't the one you guys reached today, correct? Can you elaborate on what that would have been?
To be clear, there was only ever one plea deal, and it's that's the one that his attorneys brought to us. The deal, for lack of a better word, and I frankly despise that word, no offense, the agreement that was reached was he would plead guilty to every count we charged him with. In exchange, if he pled guilty to each and every count in the complaint information, we would not seek the death penalty. That was an offer brought to us by the defense. That's when, I've talked about this before, Mr. Wren and I felt compelled to get on a plane and go see the Rusicks in North Carolina, because that was a conversation that I was only going to have with them face to face.
So you see that the defense is actually the one that brought the deal to the prosecution. So I bet you Chris was a part of that.
But I know I've found out that the police, or not the police, but the Rusicks, I don't know if it was one parent or two, but eventually they both wanted the death penalty. But then there was some that were saying Sandy didn't want it, Frankie didn't want it. I mean, I understand what they don't want because of what he did to the family, but I feel that people are committing murder too easily because they know they're just going to either get life in prison or 25 years. Like watching the first 48, a guy murdered a homeless man for taking his money that he had in his pocket and got 7 years. Like, I just don't understand. Like, if we're going to sit here and charge these people, charge them, give them or show them as a, how do you want to say it? Make an example out of them. See, look, what happens when you murder your family? You're going to get the firing squad. I mean, like, we should make jail look scary. Some people are in jail and they're watching TV and getting free meals and free healthcare. It's like, we're making it look easy for them. I am going to end it right there, guys. I want to keep my videos somewhat between 40 minutes to an hour, just because some people don't have the time, or they do have the time. If you guys want me to do this, the third part of Nichol Kessinger knowing about the murders, knowing about the girls, the press conference, I can definitely do the part 3 to this. Just let me know down in the description or the comments below. Let me know your guys' theories. Do you think that myself and the other YouTubers are just witch hunting, or are we on to something that might finally lead us to the final justice? Because I feel eventually it will come in time, but it's going to take time, and it's going to be a while. A lot of time, unfortunately. It's not going to be a day, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, months, possibly years. So, again, thank you guys for watching. Please take care. Be safe. As always, keep nerding on, and we will see you guys in the next video.